Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for having this hearing. Thank you for all of our witnesses, and I'd be remiss if I did not start out by thanking the National Guard on behalf of the communities in my state in the aftermath of the Oso mudslide, the tremendous outpouring of support from the National Guard. We just can't thank you all enough. I was up there many times. I've never seen a disaster like this. And the National Guard members, along with our first responders who were digging in the worst of conditions, 75 feet of mud, looking for victims and their effects, and did it day after day without complaining. And I just want to convey our thank you for all of those men and women who are out there and are still, some of them out there, working on that. Senator Durbin referred to the budget issues. We all know we're all struggling through this. Obviously grateful that we're not still dealing with sequester for the immediate, but it is hanging out there, and we all have some tough decisions to make, and appreciate all of your comments today as we try to work forward through that. But I want to follow up on what Senator Collins referred to at the end of her questioning, because the 2012 DoD suicide report was recently issued, and it shows that we are still very much struggling to combat suicide in the military. But a change in counting suicides in the Guard and Reserves shows the problem is actually significantly worse than was previously reported. I'm going to be asking for a lot of answers from the offices responsible about those changes and why it took them so long to get this to us. But for now, the obvious problem in the Guard and Reserve is much worse than we were led to believe. So for all of our witnesses, and Major General Lyons, if I can start with you, in light of this new information that we now have, what are you going to be doing to better address suicide, especially in the Guard and Reserve?
Senator, with respect to the recently released report that you mentioned, accurate figures I welcome that. It helps us see ourselves better, helps us apply our resources more effectively, and so I view that as a positive step. In terms of what we're doing, leaders at all levels in the Army National Guard, from the Adjutant General in the state down to first-line squad leaders, are very concerned about this. We're a geographically dispersed, primarily part-time force. And so at the leader level, the small unit leader level, that interaction of knowing your soldiers, knowing what's going on in their lives, understanding and recognizing changes in their behavior, and then having the knowledge to escort that person that's in crisis to a caregiver is something we spend quite a bit of time on. We also dedicate resources to that in the terms of full-time directors of psychological health. We have 78 DPHs across the 54 states, territories, in the district. We continue to apply additional resources that Congress has given us in FY14 to expand that footprint. Right now, it's about 1 director of psychological health to 4,500 soldiers. We hope to close that gap down to about 1 to 2,300 and continue to embed those professionals. We continue to stress resiliency training in our formations. In fact, we're starting to do that now when soldiers first join the Guard and they enter what we call the Recruit Sustainment Program before they even ship off to basic combat training, introducing resiliency and risk reduction training into that training before they even ship off. We spend quite a bit of time with something called ASSIST. It's Applied Suicide Intervention Skills and Training. We have 35,000 of our Guardsmen trained in ASSIST, and again, that's all about recognizing changes in behavior and recognizing when someone's in crisis and knowing what to do and protecting that person and escorting them to care. We continue to focus on the role of our chaplains who provide 24/7 crisis counseling to our service members. And so these are some areas that we continue to engage on. Our adjutants generals are partnering with local communities, stressing the importance of engagement with the Veterans Administration, and also the role of TRICARE Reserve Select for our members as an access to care.
General?
Senator, thank you. One of the things we're doing at the National Guard Bureau level, in addition to what the Army and Air Guard are doing at the unit level, is I've been working with Health and Human Services and the Public Health Service. I have a Rear Admiral from Public Health Service that serves as my liaison. And we've been meeting with members of the Surgeon General's office to take a look at how this problem is being dealt with for our nation. I'm very concerned, especially with the issues we're dealing with today, but I'm also concerned about the future. I'm not sure we really grasp yet the impact of 12 years of war on any member of our society. And coming back home to small-town America, will we have the resources there? We're working closely with General Chinseki's staff, but Health and Human Services and the Public Health Service is going to do some study work for us to see, because we draw our men and women right out of our communities, and when they return, what can we do to make local and state health resources available and the professionals.
Which is where they are when they go home?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anybody else want to comment quickly on
If
that?
I could, just a couple, the telehealth has increased significantly over the last couple of years. We had thousands of now available that helps National Guard and Reserve through telehealth, especially in behavioral health. The other thing is I want to thank everyone for is the TRICARE Reserve Select that has been put into place, that is a low-cost capability for our reserve, specifically for our Reserve and National Guard, that helps them to get care outside of the military treatment facilities. And now that that's available, we're starting to see the differences. So we appreciate the work Congress has done to put that in place, and those are helping significantly.
I appreciate that, and I will continue to follow up with all of you. I want to ask one other quick question, General Odierno, while I'm here. I really appreciate the work the Army's done to implement, under your leadership, the Vow to Hire Heroes Act. Working at JBLM, I'm seeing some really great programs, significant numbers of soldiers accepting job offers prior to separation, so we don't have that gap. We're in the midst of a pilot program out there. But I wanted to ask you, I understand there's been a long delay in giving the unit commanders access to the ACAP 21 system. That's what tracks the soldiers' process through TAP. So if the unit commander doesn't have the information, they're not able to follow up, make sure it's happening. When is that capability going to be available?
Yeah, we think we've got it about there. So we think within the next month or so that capability is going to be able to provide the information for the commanders. It's critical as we go through this. You're exactly right. And so we've been working very hard to get this in place.
Okay. I'd like to follow up with you on that as well, because we've got to get that information to the commanders.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Shaw.